Daddy doesn't remember I exist.
8-year-old Sophia ran barefoot through Manhattan's rain-soaked streets, her mother's blood still on her white dress. Behind her, men in black suits hunted with devices that could erase a mind in seconds. She clutched the silver locket, the only proof her family had been real before they stole her father's memories. They turned him into a stranger who walked past his own daughter without recognition. But buried beneath 3 years of lies, a father's heart was still beating, waiting to remember. Welcome to Story Theater. Take your seat, silence your phones and get ready to enjoy the story. The evening sky over Manhattan burned orange and purple like a bruise that wouldn't heal. Daniel Hartman stood at the corner of Park Avenue and 52nd Street, waiting for the light to change. His reflection stared back from the dark glass storefront. Charcoal gray suit fitted perfectly to his shoulders. Italian leather briefcase worth more than most people's monthly salary. Gold watch catching the dying sunlight in sharp flashes. Everything about him screamed success. But his eyes were empty. They had been empty for 3 years. The crosswalk signal turned white. People rushed forward. Daniel moved with them, his steps automatic. His mind was already at his penthouse, already pouring whiskey, already sitting in the silence that had become his only companion. Running one of New York's most successful security companies meant nothing when every night ended the same way. Alone, haunted by questions without answers. Then he saw her. A small girl stood frozen in the middle of the crosswalk. The crowd flowed around her like water around a stone. Maybe 8 years old. Dark brown hair hanging tangled around her face. White dress torn at the hem and stained with dirt. Left foot completely bare against the cold concrete. But her eyes stopped him cold. Wide with pure terror. Darting left and right, searching for escape. The signal started flashing red. Cars honked. People cursed and pushed past her. Daniel's body moved before his mind caught up. His expensive shoes splashed through a puddle. When he reached her, he knelt slowly on the wet pavement. "Hey there. Are you okay? Where are your parents?" The girl's lower lip trembled. Tears had carved clean paths through the dirt on her cheeks. She opened her mouth but no words came. Then she looked over his shoulder. Her whole body went rigid. The fear in her eyes deepened into panic. "Please," she whispered. Her small hand grabbed his sleeve. "Please pretend to be my dad. Just for a minute. Please." The desperation in her voice got through him. He started to turn, but her grip tightened. "Don't look back. They'll know you're not really him if you look surprised. Just act like you know me. Like you've been looking for me." Every instinct told him to call the police. Find security. Do anything except get involved. But something in her terrified face stirred old memories. Another person who had needed help. A person he had failed. He stood slowly and took her hand. It disappeared inside his palm, tiny and cold as ice. "There you are, sweetheart. I've been looking everywhere for you." Relief flooded her face. She pressed against his leg, trembling through the fabric of his suit. He started walking, fighting the urge to run. The girl matched his steps, her bare foot silent on the concrete. Half a block later, he heard them. Footsteps behind them. Not random pedestrians. Deliberate. Measured. Following. The men in black suits, the girl whispered. "They've been following me since the hospital." Daniel's security training kicked in. 3 sets of footsteps. Maybe 4. Maintaining distance but matching their speed exactly. His mind raced. Hospital. Black suits. A barefoot child begging a stranger to pretend to be her father. None of it made sense. "What's your name?" "Sophia." The name hit him like cold water in his lungs. Sophia. Why did that name hurt? Why did it feel like something breaking inside? "Keep walking. There's a coffee shop ahead." But before they could reach it, a voice called out. Deep, professional, commanding. "Mr. Hartman." Daniel stopped. His shoulders tensed. They knew his name. He turned slowly, keeping Sophia behind him. 3 men stood 10 feet away. Identical black suits. Dark sunglasses despite the fading light. The tall one in the middle had a silver pin on his lapel. Daniel recognized the logo immediately. CyberGuard Industries. His blood turned to ice. CyberGuard was his biggest competitor. The company that had tried to buy him out 3 times. The company whose methods he had publicly criticized. The company with government contracts nobody talked about. "Step away from the girl, Mr. Hartman." "She's with me." "No sir. She's a ward of the state. She left her facility without permission. We're here to return her." Daniel felt Sophia pressing harder against his back, breathing fast and shallow. "Where's your documentation? Where's child services? Why are private contractors handling this?" The tall man's jaw tightened. "You're interfering with a legal operation." "Show me a warrant." "Court order." "Anything." "Until then, She stays with me. The men exchanged glances. The tall one pulled out a phone. Mr. Shaw, we have a situation. Daniel Hartman is interfering. Pause. Understood. He put the phone away. Marcus Shaw wants to meet you tomorrow. 9 o'clock. Your office. Marcus Shaw, CEO of CyberGuard. The man who built an empire on secrets. Tell Shaw to make an appointment like everyone else. The man smiled coldly. He already has. Check your calendar. They turned and walked away, melting into the crowd like they had never existed. Daniel stood frozen, watching them disappear. Thank you, Sophia whispered. He looked down at her. The streetlight illuminated her face clearly now. Dark hair, pale skin, blue eyes like winter sky, and around her neck, a thin silver chain. What's that? He pointed at it. She pulled it out. A heart-shaped locket. Silver. Delicate. Tiny roses engraved around the edges. Daniel's knees almost gave out. The world tilted. He knew that locket. He had bought it. Held it. Fastened it around someone's neck while whispering promises. Where did you get that? His voice cracked. My mom gave it to me. She said my dad gave it to her. Before everything went wrong. His hand moved without permission, fingers touching the locket gently. The metal was warm. The roses felt exactly as he remembered. Every curve, every line, every tiny imperfection. Emily. The name exploded through his mind. Emily wore this locket. Emily who disappeared 3 years ago without a word. Emily whose absence had hollowed him out from the inside. Your mother. What's her name? Sophia studied his face with eyes too old for her age. You already know. That's why you look broken. His hand shook. The locket swayed on its chain. The city rushed around them, but time had stopped. She's in the hospital, Sophia continued. Hurt bad. The people who hurt her are the ones following us. She said you wouldn't remember her, right? They made you forget. But she said hearts remember what minds can't. That's why she gave me the locket. So you would know. Know what? She looked back where the men had vanished, then up at him with those impossible eyes. That you're my dad, and that they're coming for all of us. The words hung in the air between them. Daniel stared at the child who claimed to be his daughter, at the locket that had once belonged to the woman who destroyed him when she left. His perfectly ordered world, the one he had built on the ashes of his memories, began to crack. Somewhere behind them, he heard footsteps again. Different this time. More of them. Getting closer. Sophia's hand tightened in his. We need to go to the hospital. Mom is dying. She said she needs to tell you the truth before it's too late. Daniel looked down at her terrified face, at the locket that proved impossible things, at the tears starting fresh on her cheeks. 3 years of emptiness. 3 years of questions. 3 years of wondering why Emily left without explanation. And now this child with Emily's locket and his own gray eyes hidden behind the blue, telling him that everything he thought he knew was a lie. Which hospital? The words came out steady despite the storm in his chest. Presbyterian. Room 307. But we have to hurry. They're coming back. And this time they'll bring more people. Daniel picked up his briefcase with his free hand. The weight of it felt different now. Everything felt different. The successful CEO was gone. In his place stood a man holding the hand of a child who might be his daughter, about to walk into a truth he wasn't sure he could survive. But he had to know. After 3 years of emptiness, he had to know. They turned the corner and Daniel raised his hand for a taxi. One pulled over immediately. As he helped Sophia inside, she looked up at him with those winter sky eyes. Mom said you were brave once. Before they changed you. She said when you saw the locket, you would remember how to be brave again. Daniel slid in beside her and gave the driver the hospital's address. As the taxi pulled away from the curb, he saw them. More black suits. At least a dozen this time. Standing on the corner where he and Sophia had just been. Watching. They know where we're going, Sophia said quietly. Let them come, Daniel heard himself say. For the first time in 3 years, he felt something other than emptiness. Fear, yes. Confusion, definitely. But underneath it all, something else. Purpose. Let them come. The taxi moved through Manhattan traffic like thick honey pouring. Stop. Go. Stop again. Daniel pressed trembling fingers against his temple. A sharp pain had started behind his left eye the moment they pulled away from the curb. Not a normal headache. This felt alive, like something with claws trying to tear its way out through his skull. Sophia sat pressed against the far door. She kept twisting to look through the rear window. Her small fingers played with the silver locket, turning it over and over. The metal caught passing streetlights, throwing flashes across the taxi's worn interior. They're following us, she whispered. Daniel forced himself to look back. 3 black SUVs moved through traffic behind them. Professional surveillance. Maintaining perfect distance. Never too far. Never too close. The pain spiked. White light exploded across his vision. Suddenly he wasn't in the taxi. He was in the white room. Bright lights overhead burning his eyes. Someone in a surgical mask leaning over him. A woman's voice saying words about neural pathways. Then the vision vanished. He was back, gasping for air. "Are you okay?" Sophia's cold hand touched his arm. His shirt was soaked with sweat. His hands shook as he loosened his tie. The silk felt like it was strangling him. "I'm fine. Just tired." But he wasn't fine. The closer they got to the hospital, the worse it became. Images kept flashing through his mind. A laboratory filled with monitors. Computer screens showing brain scans in red and blue. Emily's face, younger, tears on her cheeks. A glowing blue syringe. His signature on documents he'd never seen. Page after page of legal checks that made no sense. The taxi stopped at a red light. His reflection in the window looked like death. Face pale as paper. Dark circles under his eyes, purple and deep. He looked like something inside was breaking him apart piece by piece. "She said this would happen." Sophia watched him with those knowing eyes. "Mom said when you got close to her, old memories would try coming back. She said it would hurt like dying." "Your mom? Tell me about the accident." Her face darkened. Small hands clenched into fists. "Not an accident. They ran her car off the road 3 days ago. Tuesday night. She was trying to reach you. To warn you. But they found her first." Another spike of pain. Another flash. Emily in a sedan. Blood spreading across the windshield. Men in black suits pulling her from twisted metal. But that was impossible. Emily left 3 years ago. Disappeared while he was at work. Left a note saying she needed space. That was the truth, wasn't it? The taxi pulled up to Presbyterian Hospital's emergency entrance. The red sign cast everything in hellish light. Daniel paid with shaking hands, bills slipping through trembling fingers. The 3 black SUVs parked across the street. Nobody got out. Just watching. Waiting. Hospital doors slid open with a mechanical hiss. The smell hit immediately. Disinfectant failing to mask something worse. Fear soaked into walls. And underneath, death. Always death in hospitals, no matter how much bleach they used. His headache exploded beyond pain. He grabbed the wall, palm flat against cold tile. "This way." Sophia took his hand, leading him forward. They passed reception. A guard reading a magazine didn't look up. Nobody stopped them. Strange for evening hours, after visiting time. The hallways stretched endlessly. White walls that seemed to pulse. White floors reflecting harsh fluorescence. The light strained warmth from everything, made the world sick and wrong. Daniel's vision kept shifting between realities. One moment, normal hospital. Next moment, something else. Same hallways but filled with wrong equipment. Men in white coats who weren't doctors. Their faces blurred like bad photographs. The elevator to 3rd floor took forever. Or seconds. Time had broken. Sophia held his hand, her touch the only real thing. "Room 307, she said when doors opened. Another white hallway. His footsteps echoed wrong, like more feet than theirs. Shadows in peripheral vision. Faces almost recognized but not quite placed. The lights hummed overhead, drilling into his skull. Through the door's window machines glowing green. 4 stands like metal trees. A bed. Someone under white sheets, perfectly still. "She's in there." "My mom." "Emily." The name hit like a punch. Emily. 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 Echoing against suddenly false memories. Emily leaving. Her neat handwriting. Emily gone without explanation. But also other memories surfacing. Emily in white lace laughing as rice fell. Emily pregnant, hand on her belly. Emily holding a baby, crying with joy. Emily screaming as men dragged her away while he stood frozen. "No." His voice cracked. "Emily left." "She wrote a note." "She's been gone 3 years." "She never left you." "They took her." "Made you forget everything that mattered." The door opened. A nurse emerged. Young, pretty, but wrong eyes. Too watchful. Too knowing. She looked at them both. Recognition crossed her face. "Mr. Hartman, we've been expecting you." Every instinct screamed danger. "Run. Take the girl. Get out." But his feet moved forward anyway. Into the room. Toward the bed. Toward the broken figure lying there. Emily. But not his Emily. This Emily looked destroyed. Skin pale as sheets, almost transparent. Machines breathing for her in mechanical rhythm. Monitors tracking failing heartbeat. Head wrapped in bandages spotted with blood. Face purple with bruises, swollen beyond recognition, arms connected to IVs pumping unknown fluids. She looked small, fragile, almost gone. But it was her. The mouth he'd kissed, the neck he'd traced, the scar on her left hand from cooking on their third date, trying to impress him with homemade pasta. Real memory? Or manufactured? He couldn't tell anymore. 3 days ago, the nurse said, too calm. Severe head trauma. Internal injuries. Comatose since arrival. Daniel moved closer. His hand reached out, trembling fingers almost touching her face. Real. Here. Dying. But she left. 3 years ago. She left me. Did she? Or is that what they wanted you remembering? Pain exploded worse than before. Knees buckled. He grabbed the bed rail. Images flooded in. Underground facility. Concrete walls. Blinding lights. Voices discussing modification. Subject resisting. Increased dosage. Connections too strong. Target specific memories. Make him forget family. Child. Her. Make him believe she left. Make him believe he was always alone. Stop. Please stop. I'm not doing anything, Mr. Hartman. The nurse pulled out a syringe. Clear liquid inside. But if the pain's too much, I can help. No. Sophia stepped between them, fierce and small. Don't let her. She's one of them. The nurse smiled coldly. Smart girl. Like her mother. Too smart for her own good. She moved forward. Daniel couldn't stand. The pain kept him down. Sophia pressed against him, trembling. Then Emily's eyes opened. Just slits, but showing brilliant green he could never forget. Her mouth moved. No sound at first. Daniel. The nurse froze. This wasn't supposed to happen. Emily wasn't supposed to wake. Daniel. Emily's fingers twitched weakly. The locket. Remember the locket? His hand found Sophia's necklace. Silver heart catching harsh light. He remembered buying it. First anniversary. Emily crying when he clasped it. Promising never to remove it. But impossible. They weren't married. Were they? We had a daughter. Emily's voice faded. They took her. Made you forget. I found her. Brought her back. Sophia. Our Sophia. The nurse lunged with the syringe. Daniel caught her wrist. Twisted hard. Syringe shattered on the floor. The nurse stumbled back. Security. Room 307. But Daniel stared at Emily, at Sophia, at the locket. Truth breaking through walls in his mind. He had a family, wife, daughter. Someone stole them. Stole 3 years. Made him half a person while they did terrible things to those he loved. Footsteps running. Multiple sets. Black suits coming. We need to go, Sophia urged. Now. Emily's hand found his. Weak. Cold. But real. Her eyes focused with tremendous effort. They used you. Your company. Your technology. You created something about memories. They took it. Used it on you. On others. I tried to stop them. That's why they erased me. The door burst open. 3 men rushed in. The nurse pointed. Stop them. They're taking the patient. Daniel stood. Pain gone. Replaced by rage. Pure. Clean. Powerful. He pulled Sophia behind him. You don't want to do this, he said quietly. Voice changed. Dangerous. The lead man hesitated. He saw something in Daniel's eyes. The look of someone with nothing left to lose. Orders are orders, Mr. Hartman. Step away from the woman and child. No. One word carrying weight of stolen years. The man reached for something. Not a gun. A device Daniel recognized. His own design. Memory disruptor. One touch erased an hour. His company developed it for military use. CyberGuard stole the prototype. My own invention against me? Daniel laughed bitterly. I don't think so. He grabbed the 4th stand, swung it like a club. Metal connected with the man's arm. Device flew across the room. Others rushed forward. Daniel fought like a man possessed. By memories. By truth. By need to protect what was his. But there were too many. More pouring through the door. 6, 7, 8. He went down under their weight. Arms pinned. Legs held. The last things he saw Sophia's terrified face. Emily's green eyes closing again. The nurse approaching with another syringe. Darkness rushing up to meet him. But not before Emily's final whisper reached him. The basement. Everything's in the basement. Find Project Namazani. The words sank deep. Deeper than drugs could reach. Deeper than their machines could erase. Project Namazani. The basement. The truth waiting. He would remember. No matter what they did to him now, he would remember. Because the heart remembers what the mind cannot. Love survives even when memory dies. Daniel woke to white ceiling tiles and steady beeping. His mouth tasted like copper and chemicals. Every muscle ached as if beaten with hammers. Fluorescent lights stabbed into his eyes. He tried to sit up. Leather straps held his wrists to the bed rails. A man in a white coat stood at the bed's foot, studying a clipboard. Mid-50s. Gray beard. Tired eyes that had stopped caring long ago. He looked up when Daniel moved. "Mr. Hartman, you're awake." The doctor moved closer, pulled out a pin light. "I'm Dr. Marcus Chen. You've been unconscious for 6 hours." The light pierced Daniel's pupils. Left, right. The doctor made notes, pen scratching paper. Daniel's head throbbed with each heartbeat. Memories came in fragments. Emily in the hospital bed. Sophia's frightened face. Black suits. Fighting. Falling. "Where's Sophia?" His voice came out rough as sandpaper. "The girl is safe." In the waiting area. Dr. Chen set down the clipboard, pulled a chair close. His face took on that careful expression for bad news. "Mr. Hartman, I need to explain your condition." Daniel pulled against the restraints. Leather bit into wrists, leaving red marks. "Why am I tied down?" "For your safety." "You were violent when brought in." "Kept fighting after sedation." The doctor leaned forward. "Our scans show significant head trauma. At least 3 years old. There's also neurological damage consistent with chemical exposure. The combination resulted in severe memory dissociation." The words hung like smoke. Head trauma. Neurological damage. Memory dissociation. Clinical terms for a shattered mind. "You're saying I'm brain damaged?" "I'm saying your brain shows deliberate interference." Dr. Chen stood, walked to the window. Dawn broke over Manhattan, painting buildings gold. "These patterns aren't natural. Someone did this." "Someone with sophisticated neurochemistry knowledge." Daniel's wrists burned. His chest felt too tight. The monitor showed his heart rate climbing. 120, 130, 140. "Emily, is she really my wife?" Chen turned from the window, face grave. "According to records from 3 years ago, yes." Emily Hartman was admitted for emergency delivery. "You're listed as husband." "Birth certificate shows a daughter." "Sophia Marie Hartman." The room tilted. Daniel closed his eyes, but that made it worse. Images flashed. Emily in a hospital gown, a baby's cry, tiny fingers around his thumb. But also other memories. Living alone. Empty apartment. Silence for every meal. "I would remember having a child." "Would you?" Memory isn't a recording. It's like water. Can be dammed, redirected, contaminated. Damage to your hippocampus suggests systematic suppression. "Someone wanted you to forget." The door opened. A nurse peered in. "Same woman from last night but different eyes." "Worried now." "Dr. Chen, the girl is asking for her father." "She's distressed." "Bring her in," Daniel said. Chen hesitated, then nodded. The nurse disappeared. Footsteps approached, one heavy, one light. Sophia appeared. Her dress replaced with an oversized hospital gown. Hair half brushed. Feet still bare. She stood uncertain at the threshold. Eyes darting from Daniel to the restraints. When she entered, she moved like a wild animal, ready to bolt. "They tied you up," she said softly. "It's temporary. Until he's stable," Chen said. Sophia ignored him. She approached Daniel's bedside, studied his face. Up close, Daniel saw Emily in her features. The nose shape, the chin curve. But the eyes were his own gray, storm-colored. "Are you really my dad?" Daniel's throat closed. The safe answer was no. The logical answer was no. But looking at this child with Emily's face and his eyes, the word wouldn't come. Silence stretched between them like an unbridgeable gap. "You don't remember me." Not a question. Statement heavy with grief. "Mom said you wouldn't." "Said they took me at 2 months old." "Made you forget so you wouldn't look for us." The monitor beeped faster. Memories collided. Teaching shoelaces. No. Never happened. Bedtime stories. No. Lived alone. Child's laughter. No. Always silence. "I don't know what's real anymore." Sophia touched his restrained wrist. "Warm. Real. Undeniable." "Mom said love is real even when memory isn't." "Said you loved us before they changed you." "Said you'd love us again if you could remember how." "Perhaps Mr. Hartman should rest," Chen suggested. "No. She stays." The doctor studied them, then stood. "I'll be at the nurse's station." "Use the call button if needed." At the door he paused. "Memory may be fragile, but neural pathways can rebuild. What broke can sometimes repair. Not the same, but sometimes better." The door clicked shut. Sophia climbed onto a chair, eye level with Daniel. Exhaustion showed in her young face. Purple shadows. Trembling hands. "You look tired." "Haven't slept 3 days." "Not since Mom's accident." She yawned. "Black suits kept finding our hiding places." "Had to keep moving." "Mom said find you before they found us." "Why?" She pulled out a worn photograph. Daniel and Emily on a beach. Both laughing. Emily pregnant, his hand on her belly. Sunset painting ocean gold. Last picture before they took her. You were happy. Excited about me. She traced the faces. Mom kept it hidden 3 years. Said it proved our family was real. Daniel stared. No memory of that beach, that moment. But the man was him. Younger. Whole. The woman was Emily. Alive. His. The lights flickered. Once. Twice. Then darkness. Emergency lighting kicked in. Red glow. Sophia's hand tightened on his wrist. Shadows moved past the door. Multiple figures. Moving with purpose. They're here, she whispered. Daniel pulled against restraints hard enough to bleed. Outside, muffled voices. Orders. Rubber soles squeaking. Press the call button. Sophia pressed it. Once. Twice. 3 times. Nothing. Shadows grew closer. Door handle turned. Hide. Bathroom. Lock it. I won't leave you tied. Please. The door opened. 3 men entered. Black suits. One held a modified taser. Blue electricity arced. Time to go, Mr. Hartman. Daniel pulled until wrists bled. Leather wet but holding. The man approached. Sophia moved between them. Leave him alone. Step away, child. No. He reached for her. Something snapped in Daniel's mind. Not breaking. Connecting. Circuits completing. The right restraint, weakened by blood, tore free. His hand grabbed the man's wrist. Twisted. Taser fell. Others rushed forward. Left hand still restrained but right free. Enough. He caught the first man's tie, pulled him into the bed rail. Wet sound of head on metal. Second man grabbed for Sophia. Daniel found the taser, drove it into ribs. Blue electricity. Burning fabric. Screaming. Running footsteps. Dr. Chin appeared, reached for the alarm. A fourth man materialized behind him. Pressed something to Chin's neck. Doctor dropped. Enough. The fourth man was older. Silver hair. Scarred eyebrow. We're not here to hurt anyone. Just collecting what belongs to us. We don't belong to you. The man smiled coldly. Everything connected to Project Namazani belongs to CyberGuard. Every subject. Every family member. Every memory. He produced a syringe. Easy or hard. Your choice. Daniel tested the remaining restraint. Solid. His free hand found Sophia's shoulder. You're not taking her. Don't need to. She'll come once you're gone. We've been patient 3 years, letting you live your modified life. But Emily interfered. Tried waking you. Now we clean up. He moved closer. Syringe gleaming red. Daniel pulled desperately. Blood running. Leather stretching but holding. Sophia bit the man's hand. Deep. Drawing blood. He cursed, dropped the syringe. She grabbed Chin's clipboard, swung at the restraint buckle. Once. Twice. Third hit bent it. Daniel pulled. Leather tore. He rolled off the bed as 2 men lunged. Hit floor hard. Sophia jumped down. They scrambled for the door. Men followed. Hallway chaos. Red lights. Staff scattering. Someone screaming about police. Daniel grabbed Sophia's hand. They ran. Hospital gown flapping. Bare feet on cold floor. Boots pounding behind. Hit stairwell at full speed. Down. 3 steps at once. Sophia's hand sweaty and his. 3rd floor. Second. First. Lungs burning. Vision blurring. Sophia pulled him forward. Through another door. Main lobby. People everywhere. Perfect confusion. Fire. 3rd floor fire. Instant panic. Rush for exits. They melted into chaos. Pushed through main doors into morning sun. Cold air slapped exposed skin. Kept running. Across the street. Into alley. Behind dumpster. Collapsed against brick. Gasping. Wrists bleeding. Feet cut. Sophia pale as paper. But out. Free. For now. Must find the basement. Mom said everything's there. Daniel looked back. Black SUVs at entrance. Men searching. First we disappear. He stood, helped her up. Deeper into the alley. Into Manhattan's maze. A man in a hospital gown. A barefoot girl. Running from shadows. Searching for truth. Looking for a basement holding everything. The abandoned subway station smelled like rust and decay. Water dripped somewhere in the darkness, each drop echoing through empty tunnels. Daniel sat on the cold concrete ledge, wearing stolen clothes from a church donation box. The oversized jacket hung loose on his frame. Work boots 2 sizes too big made his feet ache. Nothing fit properly, just like the broken pieces of his memory that refused to align. Sophia huddled beside him under a gray blanket they had pulled from a shopping cart. She shivered despite the wool. The emergency exit sign above cast everything in sickly green light. They had been hiding here for 3 hours since escaping the hospital, counting sirens above, waiting for the city to forget them. Daniel held the silver locket in his palm. Such a small thing to carry such weight. The metal was warm from Sophia's skin, tarnished at the edges where fingers had worried it over the years. He studied the engraved roses on its surface. Each petal had been carved with patience and love. Mom never took it off, Sophia said quietly. Even when they hurt her, even when they tried to make her forget, she held onto it. Daniel's fingers found the tiny clasp. His hands shook, not from cold but from fear. Fear of what he might find. Fear of what might not be there. The clasp was stubborn, corroded with age. He worked at it with his thumbnail until the metal finally gave. The locket opened with a soft click. Inside, where a photograph should have been, was something else. A piece of black plastic no bigger than a fingernail. Daniel tilted it toward the green light. Not plastic. A micro USB drive, fitted perfectly into the hollow space. Someone had removed the photo mounting to make room. Precise work. She said you'd know what to do with it. Said you understood computers and memories. Daniel stared at the tiny drive. His chest felt tight. Once he looked at whatever it contained, there would be no going back. No return to his empty apartment and comfortable loneliness. We need a computer. Internet cafe 2 blocks over. I saw it when we were running. But they have cameras. Not in the bathroom. You distract at the counter. I'll take a laptop. They climbed rusted stairs to street level. Evening had fallen. Manhattan glowed with millions of windows. Daniel pulled up his hood. Sophia walked ahead. Just another kid heading home. The cafe was nearly empty. 3 customers at screens. An elderly Korean owner barely looked up when Sophia entered. She went to the counter, asking loudly about hot chocolate prices. Daniel slipped past, grabbed a laptop, vanished into the bathroom. Flickering fluorescent light overhead. The laptop was old but functional. Daniel extracted the USB carefully. Such a small thing to hold so much. He plugged it into the port. 3 heartbeats. A window opened. One folder labeled Project Namazani. Daniel clicked it open. Files spilled across the screen. Documents. Videos. His name everywhere. Subject 001 Daniel Hartman. Memory architecture mapped. Emotional connections severed. His trembling hand clicked on a video file labeled Final Session. The screen filled with white light. A laboratory appeared. Not medical. Military. Government funded. Monitors showing brain scans covered the walls. In the center stood 2 people. Daniel and Emily. 3 years younger. Hospital gowns. Electrodes on their temples. Both terrified. Emily spoke through tears. Daniel, if you're watching this, I found a way to get it to you. This is Project Namazani. Memory elimination. Complete personality restructuring. Young Daniel tried moving toward her. Someone off camera barked orders. He froze. You created the technology to help PTSD patients forget trauma. CyberGuard stole it. Weaponized it. When you tried stopping them, they made you the first test subject. Camera shaking. Arguments off screen. Emily talked faster. They're erasing us, Daniel. Our marriage. Our daughter. Everything. They need you functional but compliant. Creating what they want without questions. Her voice broke. I made a deal. Volunteered for the procedure if they didn't hurt Sophia. Young Daniel was shouting. No audio but his lips were readable. Don't do this. We can fight. Emily looked directly at the camera. I'm choosing to save you both. They'll separate us. Make you think I left. But love is written deeper than memory. The heart remembers what the mind cannot. She touched her chest. I'll find you again. Even if it takes years. Someone grabbed her, pulled her away. The last frame showed Daniel held down on a table. A syringe approaching his neck. Terror in his eyes. Video ended. Daniel was on the bathroom floor. He didn't remember falling. The laptop lay sideways. His chest felt crushed. 3 years believing she left. 3 years of manufactured loneliness. 3 years of Sophia hiding. A knock on the door. Sir? You okay? Just a minute. He clicked through more files with shaking hands. Medical reports showing brain damage. His hippocampus scarred. Detailed notes on maintaining false memories. Weekly chemicals in his office coffee. Subliminal programming through computer screens. Everything planned perfectly. Security footage from 6 months ago. Emily escaping a facility. Fighting guards. Taking Sophia. They had been running 6 months before trying to reach him. Final file emergency protocol. If subject recovers memory, immediate termination. Make it look accidental. No witnesses. They would kill him. Kill Emily. Kill Sophia. Erase everything. Harder knock. Need you to open up. Daniel yanked out the USB, shoved it back in the locket. Opened the door with an embarrassed smile. Sorry. Felt sick. The owner looked suspicious but stepped aside. Daniel set down the laptop, walked out casually. Sophia was still at the counter. She saw him, ran out like an embarrassed child. They met 2 blocks away. What did you find? How could he tell her that her life was an experiment? That her parents were laboratory subjects? Everything. I found everything. They walked through the neon night in silence. Daniel's mind raced. Emily had kept her promise. Broken herself keeping it. Now she was dying while CyberGuard closed in. We have to go back to the hospital. Can't. They're watching. Then we find another way. He looked at the concrete maze around them. Your mom mentioned a basement. Which one? Sophia pulled out a key. Old brass. Heavy. She gave me this. Said you'd know. Numbers on the key head. Not numbers. Coordinates. Daniel's hand shook. He knew those coordinates. His old laboratory. Where he developed the memory disruptor. Where CyberGuard seized everything 3 years ago. Where a basement officially didn't exist. I know where we need to go. Thunder rumbled. Rain started falling. Daniel pulled Sophia close. The locket pressed against his chest. Inside, the USB held 3 years of stolen life. But also proof. Evidence. Truth. Emily had broken herself delivering this truth. Now his turn to break something. CyberGuard. The project. The thieves who stole their lives. He would break them all. The motel room smelled like cigarette smoke and decay. Peeling wallpaper showed water damage from decades of neglect. A single bulb hung from the ceiling, casting harsh shadows across the stained carpet. Daniel sat on the sagging bed, staring at his hands as if they belonged to someone else. These hands had signed documents, built companies, created technology. But which memories were real? Which ones had been planted like seeds in poisoned soil? Sophia sat cross-legged on the floor, the USB connected to a laptop they bought with cash from a pawn shop. The screen's blue glow turned her young face ghostly. She clicked through file after file with focus beyond her years. Outside, trucks rumbled past on the highway, rattling the thin windows. They had driven 2 hours out of the city in a stolen car, paying cash under false names. Daniel pressed palms against his temples. The headache had returned, throbbing behind his eyes. Every memory felt suspect now. His first day at his company, real or fabricated? The awards on his office wall, earned or props? Even simple things like his favorite coffee suddenly seemed like programmed behaviors rather than choices. I can't trust anything in my head, he said, voice hollow. Sophia looked up from the screen. Mom said that would be the hardest part. Not the pain, not the fear, but not knowing which thoughts are yours. Daniel walked to the grimy window. Through dirt and dead insects on the glass, he saw the motel's neon sign flickering. Vacancy. No vacancy. Like his own mind, switching between truth and lies. His reflection stared back, hollow cheeks, 3 days of stubble, eyes that had seen too much. The laptop made a sudden noise. News alert. Sophia clicked it. The screen filled with a familiar face. Marcus Shaw, CEO of CyberGuard, behind a podium covered in microphones. Silver hair, perfect. Suit worth more than cars. Smile cold as winter. Turn it up, Daniel said. Shaw's smooth voice filled the room. CyberGuard has always been at the forefront of neurological innovation. Our memory stabilization technology has helped hundreds of trauma victims return to normal lives. Reporter's voice. Can you give us an example? Shaw smiled wider. Daniel's stomach turned to ice. Without naming names, I can mention one of our first subjects. A brilliant tech entrepreneur who suffered severe trauma-induced memory fragmentation 3 years ago. Today, he runs one of New York's most successful security firms. He's living proof our technology works. We call him our stability model. Complete cognitive function restored. A perfect success story. Blood drained from Daniel's face. Shaw was talking about him on live television, calling him a success while Emily lay dying. That's you, Sophia whispered. He's talking about you like your property. Shaw continued. Some subjects require ongoing maintenance, weekly adjustments to ensure continued stability. We monitor them carefully for their safety. Naturally, weekly adjustments. The coffee that tasted wrong Monday mornings. The mandatory meetings where he'd lose time. Doctor visits he couldn't remember. They'd been maintaining him like a machine. There's more, Sophia said, clicking another file. Look. Clinical notes filled the screen. Subject shows remarkable adaptation to implanted memories. Acceptance rate 94%. Emotional responses align with fabricated narrative. Continue protocol indefinitely. Daniel read it 3 times. 94%. They'd replaced 94% of his memories. Only 6% of the real Daniel Hartman survived. I'm not even real anymore. I'm mostly what they made me. No. Sophia stood, fists clenched. "You're my dad, Mom's husband. That's real. They couldn't erase that completely or you wouldn't be here." She clicked another file. Correspondence between Shaw and someone called Handler 1. Subject's wife located. Retain more memory than expected. Recommend neutralization. Response negative. She may be useful. Her emotional connection could trigger recovery. We could learn from the failure. Shaw's reply agreed. Let her approach him. Monitor all interactions. If recovery begins, implement emergency protocol. They let her find me, Daniel said, understanding flooding through. They knew Emily escaped. They wanted to see what would happen. Sophia clicked faster. More documents. Then something that made her gasp. "Dad, look." Video file negotiation-y. Hartman. Daniel clicked play with shaking hands. Emily appeared. 3 years younger. White room. Hands cuffed to table. Face exhausted but determined. Shaw sat across from her. "Shaw, your husband created something remarkable. We need his mind intact to continue. But we can't have him fighting us." "Emily, I'll make you a deal." "I'm listening." "Leave Sophia alone. Completely. No experiments. No observation. She grows up normal. In exchange, I volunteer for full procedure. Complete memory wipe. I'll disappear. Daniel will think I left him." Shaw leaned back. "And if we refuse?" Emily smiled dangerously. "I've uploaded everything to a secure server. If I don't input a code every 72 hours, it goes public. Every document. Every video." "You're bluffing." "Try me." "You need Daniel functional." "I need my daughter safe." Video ended. Daniel stared at the black screen. Emily had traded herself for their safety. Volunteered to have her mind destroyed. But somehow she'd fought through it, escaped, found them. "She saved us," Sophia said quietly. "She saved us and we didn't even know." Daniel stood, pacing like a caged animal. His entire life for 3 years had been a performance. Every decision guided. Every thought monitored. He was a rat who just discovered the maze. But anger was building. Real anger, not programmed. This came from that 6% that remained. Daniel Hartman. The part written deeper than memory. "They're watching us now." Shaw admitted it. "They know we ran." Sophia pulled out a manila folder. "Mom gave me this. Said to show you when you were ready." Inside, photographs. Daniel and Emily's wedding. Emily pregnant. Daniel holding newborn Sophia. Birthday parties. Christmas mornings. A family that existed until CyberGuard tore them apart. One photo stopped Daniel cold. Him in a laboratory, standing next to a machine like an MRI scanner crossed with nightmare. Smiling, proud. Brass plate reading mnemonic restructuring device prototype 1. "I built it," he whispered. "I built the thing that destroyed us." The irony was perfect. He'd created his own destruction, then been forced to forget. The machine meant to heal trauma became the instrument of violation. CyberGuard turned him into their demonstration model. Thunder cracked outside. Rain hammered the roof. Sophia moved closer, seeking or offering comfort. "What do we do now?" she asked. Daniel looked at Shaw's frozen face on screen. At documents proving 3 years of torture. At photos of his deleted family. "Now we stop running." Shaw wants his success story? He'll get it, but not the version he expects. He picked up the USB. Emily had broken through programming to deliver this evidence. Now his turn to fight. "We're going to that basement. We're going to find Project Nemazani's real files. Then we're going to burn CyberGuard to the ground." Sophia nodded with determination matching his own. Outside, the storm grew stronger. Inside, father and daughter planned the destruction of an empire built on stolen mines. The manufactured past was ending. The real future was about to begin. Daniel stood in the rain outside his own office building at 3 in the morning. The glass tower stretched into the darkness, each floor a monument to his manufactured success. Water ran down his face, mixing with something that might have been tears. He had built this empire on a foundation of lies, and he hadn't even known it. Every contract signed, every deal made, every employee hired, all of it orchestrated by puppeteers he couldn't see. Sophia waited in the stolen car, engine running, ready to flee if necessary. But Daniel needed to see it. Needed to stand where he had spent 3 years playing the role of successful CEO while his real life lay in ruins. The security cameras would catch him, but he no longer cared. Let them watch. Let them see their experiment returning to its cage. He pressed his palm against the cold glass of the entrance. His reflection stared back, distorted by rain and architectural angles. This was where he came every morning at 7 sharp. Where he worked until 8 every night. Where he had built something he thought was his but was actually theirs. The perfect cover story for the perfect test subject. A security guard moved inside the lobby. Daniel recognized him. Tom, worked the night shift, Had 3 kids. Or did he? Was Tom real or another actor in this elaborate play? Daniel couldn't tell anymore. Everything felt like a stage set that might collapse at any moment. He walked back to the car, his stolen clothes soaked through. Sophia had the laptop open, still digging through files. Her young face glowed in the screen light, brow furrowed in concentration. She had found something new. Something that made her hands shake as she turned the computer toward him. "Dad, you need to see this." The document was titled Subject Viability Assessment. Daniel's name appeared at the top, followed by pages of analysis, brain scans, psychological profiles, success metrics. But one section made him stop breathing. Subject 001 represents the only successful case of complete memory restructuring without cognitive collapse. Previous 12 subjects experienced fatal neurological failure within 6 months. Subject 013 through 024 suffered permanent catatonia. Only Hartman's unique neural architecture allowed full integration of implanted memories while maintaining functional capacity. Daniel read it again. 24 people before him, all destroyed by the process. He was the only one whose brain could survive having its memories rewritten. The only success in a graveyard of failures. "You're the proof it works," Sophia said quietly. "That's why they kept you alive. That's why they maintained you so carefully." More documents followed. Government contracts worth billions pending successful demonstration of the technology. Military applications for creating perfect sleeper agents. Corporate espionage possibilities. And at the center of it all, Daniel Hartman, the living proof that memories could be completely rewritten without destroying the subject. His hands clenched into fists. The rage that had been building since the motel room exploded into something volcanic. He wasn't just a victim. He was a showpiece. A demonstration model they could point to and say, "Look, it works. Look how normal he seems. Look how successful he is." "There's more," Sophia said. She clicked on another file. "This one's about Mom." The screen filled with Emily's medical records from 3 years ago. Post-procedure analysis. Unlike Daniel's successful integration, Emily's brain had fought the process. Retained fragments showed signs of recovery within weeks. They had tried increasing the treatments, but she kept breaking through. Finally, they had given up and placed her in a long-term care facility. Warehouse for failed experiments. But there was a note at the bottom that made Daniel's blood freeze. Subject T. Hartman volunteered for the procedure in exchange for immunity for offspring and controlled maintenance of Subject 001. Agreement documented and legally binding. "She made a deal," Daniel whispered. "She volunteered to protect us." The weight of it crushed him. Emily had walked into that white room knowing what they would do to her. Had let them destroy her mind to keep Sophia safe and Daniel functional. She had traded her memories, herself, her everything, for their survival. And somehow, through sheer force of will, she had retained enough to escape. To find their daughter. To wake him up. Another file opened. This one was a video. Security footage from his office. Daniel watched himself sitting at his desk, working late. The timestamp showed last Monday. He remembered that night, or thought he did. Had stayed late to finish a proposal. But as he watched, something strange happened. A woman entered his office. Professional clothes. Carrying a cup of coffee. She set it on his desk, and he drank it without looking up. Without acknowledging her presence. Like she wasn't even there. The woman turned toward the camera, and Daniel's heart stopped. It was the nurse from Emily's hospital room. The one who had tried to inject him. She had been in his office every week, bringing him coffee laced with God knows what. And he had no memory of it. "They were maintaining you," Sophia said. "Right there in your own office. And you couldn't even see it." The guilt hit him then, overwhelming and suffocating. 3 years of Emily fighting to return to him while he lived his comfortable life. 3 years of Sophia growing up without parents while he played CEO. 3 years of believing Emily had abandoned him when she had sacrificed everything to save him. But then another thought struck. The guilt itself might be manufactured. The feelings of abandonment, the loneliness, the sense of betrayal, all of it could be implanted emotions designed to keep him from looking for the truth. Even his guilt about feeling guilty might be part of the program. "I don't know what's real," he said, voice breaking. "Even what I'm feeling right now could be something they put there." Sophia closed the laptop and took his hand. Her small fingers were warm despite the cold car. "Mom said the same thing. She said the only way to know what's real is to trust what your heart remembers. Not your head. Your heart." Daniel looked at his daughter. This brave child who had survived years of running and hiding. Who had watched her mother fight through destroyed memories to save them. Who sat here now in a stolen car in the rain, helping him piece together the wreckage of their lives. "You're real," he said. "You're the only thing I'm sure is real." She squeezed his hand tighter. "We're going to stop them, Dad. We're going to that basement and we're going to find proof. Real proof that can't be denied." Daniel started the car. The old laboratory was 40 minutes away, hidden in an industrial district that had been abandoned when CyberGuard moved to their gleaming new headquarters. But the basement Emily had mentioned would still be there. The evidence that could destroy Shaw and his empire of stolen mines. As they drove through the rain-soaked streets, Daniel's phone buzzed. Unknown number. He almost ignored it, then saw the text message: "We have Emily. Come alone or she dies." The phone slipped from his numb fingers. Sophia picked it up, read the message, and her face went pale. "It's a trap," she said. "I know." Daniel's jaw clenched. "But it's also the truth. They do have her. And they know I'll come." "You can't." "Mom wouldn't want you to." Daniel thought about Emily in that white room 3 years ago, volunteering for mental destruction to save them. Thought about her fighting through erased memories to find them. Thought about her lying broken in that hospital bed, still trying to save them. "She's saved me twice now," he said. "Once 3 years ago. Once this week. Now it's my turn." He turned the car toward the address in the text. "Not the hospital. Somewhere else. Somewhere private. Somewhere they could finish what they started 3 years ago." "But you're not going with me," he told Sophia. "You're going to the basement. You're going to find that evidence. And if I don't make it back, you're going to destroy them." "Dad, no." "Yes." His voice was firm now. The confused man was gone. In his place sat someone who might have been the real Daniel Hartman. The one from before the memory theft. The one who had created miracles and fought monsters. This instant night. One way or another. Lightning split the sky ahead. Thunder followed, shaking the car. Daniel drove toward his wife, toward the trap, toward whatever remained of their family's future. Behind him, Sophia clutched the key to the basement, the USB drive with its precious evidence, and the hope that somewhere in the shadows of manufactured memories, truth still existed. The shadows within were lifting. What emerged might be broken, might be angry, might be changed forever. But it would be real. For the first time in 3 years, Daniel Hartman would be real. The hospital room smelled different this time. Not disinfectant and death, but something chemical and wrong. Daniel stood in the doorway, his wet clothes dripping on the linoleum floor. They had Emily in a different wing now. Private. Secured. No other patients. No witnesses. Just white walls and humming machines and his wife lying still as death in the narrow bed. But her eyes were open. Green eyes staring at the ceiling, unblinking. For a moment Daniel thought she was gone, that he was too late. Then she turned her head slowly, mechanically, like someone remembering how to move. Her gaze found his face and something flickered there. Recognition. Pain. Warning. "Daniel." Her voice came out as a whisper, dry as paper. "You shouldn't have come." He moved toward the bed, but she raised one trembling hand to stop him. The effort seemed to exhaust her. Her arm fell back to the sheets, fingers twitching. There were new bandages on her head, fresh blood seeping through the white gauze. New bruises on her arms where restraints had been. "You're still in their created memories," she said, each word a struggle. "Even now. Even after everything I showed you. You can't see all of it yet." Daniel reached for her hand, but she pulled it away. The rejection stung worse than any physical blow. 3 years of believing she had left him, and now she was here but still unreachable. Still on the other side of an invisible wall built from lies and stolen time. "I remember you," he said. "I remember us. Our wedding. Sophia's birth. I remember." Emily's laugh was bitter, broken glass in her throat. "You remember what they allowed you to remember. What they needed you to remember to come here. To walk into their trap." She tried to sit up, gasped in pain, fell back. Daniel moved to help her, but she shook her head violently. The motion made her whimper. Fresh red spread across the bandages. Whatever they had done to her in the past hours had damaged something deep. "Listen to me," she said urgently. "Really listen. Not with the ears they gave you but with whatever's left of the real you. I was never just your wife. Never just a mother. I was an investigator. An SA. Assigned to CyberGuard 3 years before we met." The words hit Daniel like ice water. He stepped back from the bed, his mind reeling. Emily continued, her eyes never leaving his face. "I was investigating their government contracts. Billions in black budget funding for a program that didn't officially exist. Memory modification for interrogation, they said. Creating perfect agents, they promised. But it was more. So much more." She coughed, and blood spotted her lips. Daniel grabbed tissues from the bedside table, but she waved them away. Time was running out. They both knew it. I was supposed to gather evidence and get out. But then I met you. Fell in love with you. Had Sophia. And suddenly I wasn't just an agent anymore. I was a person with something to lose. Her voice cracked. When I found out they were going to use you as their test subject, I tried to stop it. Tried to go public with everything. But they were faster, smarter. They knew about me all along. Daniel's legs gave out. He sank into the visitor's chair, his head spinning. Everything he thought he knew was shifting again. The memories that had returned were fragmenting, rearranging, showing different angles of the same broken truth. And then, like a dam breaking, the real memories came. Not the sanitized versions. Not the edited highlights. The real thing. Emily in their kitchen at midnight, photographing documents she had stolen from his briefcase. Her hands shaking as she copied files about memory modification. Him walking in, seeing her. The fight that followed. Her confession about who she really was. His disbelief turning to rage, turning to heartbreak. And then the decision to help her. To expose CyberGuard together. To save the other test subjects before it was too late. The memory was so vivid he could taste the coffee they had shared that night. Could feel the weight of the choice they had made. They had been partners, not just in marriage but in rebellion. And CyberGuard had erased it all. You helped me, he whispered. We were going to expose them together. Emily nodded weakly. We had everything. Documents, videos, proof of human experimentation, names of government officials involved. We were going to release it all. But someone leaked our plan. They came for us that night. Made it look like a car accident. Took us to the facility. And then, she didn't need to finish. Daniel remembered now. The white rooms. The machines. The needles. Watching them strap Emily down. Hearing her scream. Fighting until they sedated him. Waking up believing she had left him, that he had always been alone. The whistleblower materials, he said suddenly. Where are they? The basement. Your old lab. Hidden in the walls. I made copies before they took us. Sophia has the key. Emily's breathing was getting shallow. But Daniel, they know. They've always known. They let me escape. Let me find you. They wanted to see if the memories would return. If love was stronger than their programming. Footsteps in the hallway. Multiple sets. Moving fast. No attempt at stealth now. Emily gripped his hand with surprising strength. Take Sophia and run. Forget about me. Forget about justice. Just save our daughter. No. Daniel stood, pulling her up with him. She was light as a bird, trembling against him. We're leaving together. All three of us. I can barely walk. Then I'll carry you. The door burst open. Not CyberGuard this time. Men in military uniforms. Official badges. Real authority. The lead officer held up identification. Mr. Hartman, we need you to come with us. Both of you. On whose authority? Daniel demanded, positioning himself between Emily and the soldiers. Senate Intelligence Committee. We're investigating allegations of illegal human experimentation. You're both witnesses. And you're both in danger. Daniel looked at the soldiers' eyes. They seemed genuine. But then again, he had thought his memories were genuine too. Everything could be another layer of the lie. Emily made the choice for him. Lieutenant Morrison, she said to the lead officer. NSA Division 7. Authentication code November 77 Whiskey. The officer's expression changed. Agent Hartman. We've been looking for you for 3 years. Your handler thought you were dead. Almost was. Several times. She leaned heavily on Daniel. The evidence you need is in the Hartman Technologies basement. Old building on Riverside Industrial. But you need to move now. CyberGuard has kill teams mobilizing. We have transport waiting. Can you travel? Emily nodded, though Daniel could feel her shaking. They moved as a group toward the elevator. But as the doors opened, Daniel saw a familiar figure at the end of the hallway. Marcus Shaw. Standing perfectly still. Watching. A small smile on his face. Mr. Hartman, Shaw called out. Remember, you can leave the maze, but you can never leave the experiment. You'll never know what's real. That's the beauty of it. The elevator doors started to close. Shaw's voice followed them. Every happy moment, every tragedy, every choice you make from now on. You'll always wonder, is this real, or is this what we wanted you to think? The doors shut. Emily collapsed against Daniel. The soldiers caught her, checking her pulse. Weak but steady. He's wrong, she whispered to Daniel. I know what's real. What? Daniel asked, holding her face in his hands. The pain. They never programmed pain into the false memories. Too dangerous. Might wake people up. She smiled weakly. Every moment of pain is real. Every moment of suffering. That's how you know you're alive. The elevator descended. Outside, Daniel could hear sirens. Not police this time. Military vehicles. Real backup. Real protection. Maybe. As they reached the ground floor, Emily grabbed his arm. Sophia. Where is she? Going to the basement. To get the evidence. Alone? Fear filled Emily's eyes. Daniel, they'll be waiting for her. The doors opened. Chaos outside. Military vehicles surrounding the hospital. Soldiers creating a perimeter. And somewhere in the city, their 8-year-old daughter was walking into a trap meant for them. Daniel looked at the soldiers. We need to get to Riverside Industrial. Now. The lieutenant nodded. We have units heading there already. Your daughter will be safe. But Daniel knew better. CyberGuard had anticipated every move so far. They would anticipate this one too. The game wasn't over. It was just entering its final phase. As they loaded Emily into an armored ambulance, she gripped Daniel's hand one more time. The heart remembers, she whispered. No matter what they do to our minds, the heart remembers. That's why we found each other again. That's why we'll find her. The ambulance doors closed. Daniel sat beside his wife, holding her hand, feeling her pulse flutter like a dying bird. Outside, the city raced past. Somewhere in that maze of concrete and glass, Sophia was facing the monsters alone. The awakening was complete. Daniel knew who he was now. Knew what had been done to them. Knew what they had lost. Now it was time to take it back. The FBI field office looked like safety. Glass and steel rising into the morning sky, American flag snapping in the wind, guards at every entrance. Daniel sat in the parking garage, watching the building through the windshield of the armored vehicle. The USB drive felt heavy in his pocket, weighted with 3 years of crimes. Emily lay in the back seat, sedated by military medics, her breathing shallow but steady. The soldiers had promised to keep her safe while he delivered the evidence. But something felt wrong. The feeling crawled up his spine like cold fingers. Too quiet. Too easy. After everything CyberGuard had done, after all their preparation and planning, would they really let him walk into the FBI with proof of their crimes? His hand found the door handle, hesitated. Through the concrete pillars of the garage, he could see men in suits moving with purpose. FBI agents, supposedly. But their movements were too coordinated. Too practiced. Like a choreographed dance. Daniel pulled out the phone the military had given him. Encrypted, they said. Secure. He dialed the number for Special Agent Rivera, the one supposedly leading the investigation. The phone rang once. Twice. Then a voice he recognized but shouldn't have. Hello, Daniel. Marcus Shaw. Calm as always. I was wondering when you'd call. Ice flooded Daniel's veins. He hung up immediately, but the damage was done. They knew. They had always known. The FBI contact was compromised. Maybe the whole field office. Maybe everyone. A text came through from an unknown number. Look up. Daniel raised his eyes to the garage ceiling. Security cameras, all turned toward his vehicle. Red lights blinking in unison. They were watching him. Had been watching the whole time. Another text. Your wife is safe for now. Your daughter is not. Choose. His hands gripped the steering wheel until his knuckles went white. Sophia was still heading to the basement, walking into God knows what kind of trap. Emily was here, unconscious, defenseless. The USB drive held evidence that could destroy CyberGuard. But none of it mattered if he lost his family. Daniel made his choice. He started the engine, pulled out of the parking space slowly. No sudden moves. Let them think he was complying. As he drove toward the exit, he saw them. Black SUVs parked at strategic points. Men in suits standing in shadows. All waiting for his next move. He counted at least 12. Maybe more. The phone rang. Unknown number. He answered. Smart choice, Shaw's voice. Drive to the old warehouse district. Pier 47. Come alone. I want guarantees. Emily and Sophia, stay safe. You're hardly in a position to negotiate. But I'm feeling generous. Bring the USB. Bring yourself. Your family lives. Simple transaction. The line went dead. Daniel looked back at Emily, still unconscious. Her face was pale, but peaceful. Like she was dreaming of better times. He couldn't take her into danger. But he couldn't leave her here either. The military escort had mysteriously vanished. No help coming. He drove to a hospital 5 blocks away. Public. Crowded. Witnesses everywhere. Carried Emily inside, his arms trembling with her weight and his fear. Left her at the emergency entrance with a note pinned to her jacket. Emily Hartman. In danger. Call General Morrison, Pentagon. The staff rushed to help her. Good people doing their jobs, not knowing they were pieces in a larger game. Back in the vehicle, Daniel drove toward Pier 47. The morning sun painted everything gold, but the beauty felt mocking. Every turn he took, Black SUVs followed, not hiding anymore, just escorting him to his fate. The USB drive burned in his pocket. 3 years of evidence. Enough to destroy Shaw, CyberGuard, everyone involved. But useless if the FBI was compromised. Useless if his daughter died. Pier 47 loomed ahead. Abandoned warehouses like broken teeth against the sky. Daniel parked, stepped out into salt air and danger. The SUVs formed a semicircle behind him. Men emerged. Not the usual CyberGuard agents. These were different. Military bearing. Professional killers. Shaw stood in the center, immaculate in his gray suit. "Mr. Hartman, so good of you to come." Daniel walked forward, hands visible. No sudden movements. "Where's my daughter?" "Safe for now." "The USB, please." Daniel pulled it out, held it up. "Such a small thing." "I want proof she's alive." Shaw smiled, pulled out a tablet. On the screen Sophia in what looked like a basement room. Sitting on the floor, arms wrapped around her knees. Alive. Scared but alive. Satisfied? Now, the drive. Daniel took a step forward, then stopped. Something about the video. The angle. The lighting. He'd seen it before. Not the footage. A recording. Maybe hours old. Maybe longer. "This isn't live," he said. Shaw's smile widened. "Clever. Your neural pathways are recovering faster than predicted." Fascinating. Movement behind Daniel. He turned to see more men emerging from the warehouses. Surrounded now. At least 20. All armed. All watching him like predators studying prey. "You were always going to kill us," Daniel said. "The evidence, the trade, none of it matters." "Oh, it matters. That USB contains the only copies of certain inconvenient recordings. We need it destroyed." "As for killing you?" Shaw stepped closer. "Daniel, you're far too valuable to kill. You're going back to the lab. Back to the machines. We're going to erase you again. But better this time. Deeper. No more wife to wake you up. No more daughter to complicate things." Daniel's hand tightened on the USB. His other hand found something in his pocket. Emily's locket. Still there. Still real. His fingers traced the engraved roses. "You want to know something funny?" Daniel said. "This whole time, I kept wondering what was real, what was programmed, what was mine and what was yours." He pulled out the locket, opened it. Inside, where the USB had been, was now something else. A small device Emily must have placed there. A transmitter. Recording everything. Broadcasting everything. But Emily knew. She always knew you'd let her escape. Knew you'd let her find me. So she prepared. "Everything we've said. Everything you've admitted. It's been transmitting to servers worldwide for the past hour." Shaw's face went pale. He pulled out his phone, started typing frantically. Then stopped. Smiled again. That cold snake smile. "Clever. But we control those servers. We'll find the transmission, delete it." "Maybe. But can you delete this?" Daniel pulled out a second phone. Not the military one. An old flip phone, basic, untraceable. On its tiny screen a video message from Emily. Her face filled the frame, recorded sometime during her escape. He hit play. Emily's voice filled the space between them. "Daniel, if you're watching this, it means I couldn't tell you in person. You didn't abandon me. You didn't forget me by choice. You forgot me to save me. They were going to kill me unless you submitted to the memory wipe. You traded your memories for my life. You chose to forget so I could live." Daniel's vision blurred. His chest felt crushed. Emily continued. "But here's what Shaw doesn't know. What none of them know. The memory wipe didn't work completely. Because every night for 3 years, you've been fighting it. Calling my name in your sleep. Drawing my face without realizing. Your heart remembered what your mind couldn't. That's why they had to keep drugging you. Keep maintaining you. Because love is written in places they can't reach." Tears ran down Daniel's face now. Real tears. Not programmed. Not suggested. Real. "I love you," Emily's voice said. "I've always loved you. And whether you remember me or not, whether they erase us again or not, that love exists. It existed. It was real. We were real." The video ended. Silence stretched across the pier. Even Shaw's men seemed affected, shifting uncomfortably. Daniel wiped his face, looked at Shaw. "You can erase memories. You can program behavior. You can steal years and lives and families. But you can't erase what matters. You can't program away love." Shaw's composure cracked. Just for a moment. Then he straightened his tie, gestured to his men. "Take him." They moved forward. Daniel didn't run. Didn't fight. Just stood there, holding the locket, holding the truth. They grabbed his arms, started dragging him toward a van. The USB fell from his pocket, clattered on the concrete. Shaw picked it up, examined it. Then his phone rang. His real phone. The secure one. He answered, and his face went white. "What do you mean, released? How many copies? Every major news outlet?" His voice rising. "The Pentagon has it? The Senate? How?" Daniel smiled through his tears. Sophia. Smart, brave Sophia. She hadn't gone to the basement for evidence. She'd gone to release it. Everything Emily had gathered. Everything they'd found. All of it, scattered to the wind like seeds. Too many copies to delete. Too many servers to control. The truth, finally free. Shaw looked at Daniel with pure hatred. Then raised his hand to order the execution. But sirens were already approaching. Not one or two. Dozens. FBI. Military. Real ones this time. The warehouse district filling with vehicles and helicopters. Shaw's men scattered, running for exits that were already blocked. Shaw stood there, looking at Daniel with something like respect. "You knew," Shaw said. "You knew it was a trap." "I knew," Daniel admitted. "But I also knew my daughter. Knew my wife. Knew that even with broken memories and stolen years, we're still a family. Still fighting." The FBI agents surrounded Shaw, weapons drawn. He raised his hands slowly, still smiling that cold smile. "This isn't over, Mr. Hartman. You can arrest me, expose the project, but you'll never know what's fully real. That's my gift to you." Permanent doubt. As they cuffed him, dragged him away, Daniel stood alone on the pier. The USB in pieces at his feet. The locket warm in his hand. His memories still fractured, still uncertain. But one thing was clear. His family was real. Their love was real. And that was enough. The New York Press Center buzzed with anticipation. 300 reporters crammed into a room meant for half that number. Camera crews fought for position. Microphones clustered on the podium like metallic flowers reaching for light. Outside, news vans lined the street, their satellite dishes pointed skyward, ready to broadcast the truth to the world. Daniel stood in the preparation room, adjusting his tie with trembling fingers. The mirror showed a man who had aged 10 years in 3 days. Hollow cheeks, dark circles under bloodshot eyes, gray threading through hair that had been solid black a week ago. But his gaze held something new. Not confusion anymore. Purpose. Emily sat in a wheelchair beside him, an oxygen tube running to her nose. Her skin had turned the color of old paper. Every breath rattled in her chest like dice in a cup. The doctors at the hospital had begged her to stay, warned that any stress could trigger complete organ failure. She had signed herself out against medical advice. "Some moments were worth dying for," she said. Sophia stood between her parents, holding both their hands. She wore a navy blue dress they had bought that morning from a second-hand store. Her first real clothes in months that weren't stolen or found. No more running. No more hiding in abandoned buildings. Today, the world would know what had been done to them. A knock at the door. An FBI agent entered, his face grave. "5 minutes, Mr. Hartman. The room is secured. We have agents at every exit." Daniel nodded. His hand found the USB drive in his pocket. Such a small thing to hold such massive truth. 3 years of evidence. 24 destroyed lives. Billions in illegal government funding. All compressed into a piece of plastic smaller than his thumb. "Are you ready?" he asked Emily. She lifted her head with effort. Her green eyes, once bright as spring leaves, had dulled to the color of fog. But behind the exhaustion burned fierce determination. "I've been ready for 3 years." He wheeled her toward the stage entrance. Each bump made her wince. Each turn brought a soft gasp of pain. The experimental drugs that had kept her memory intact had destroyed everything else. Liver failing. Kidneys shutting down. Heart struggling with each beat. The doctors gave her days at most. Maybe hours. They paused at the curtain. Beyond it, Daniel could hear the crowd growing restless. Reporters shouting into phones. Photographers arguing over angles. The whole world waiting for truth they might not be ready to hear. "Whatever happens," Emily whispered, her voice like wind through dry leaves, "we did this together. As a family." Daniel kissed her forehead. Her skin felt cold despite the fever burning inside her. Sophia squeezed both their hands tighter. Together, they pushed through the curtain into blazing light. The explosion of camera flashes was like lightning striking over and over. The roar of questions hit them like a physical force. Daniel rolled Emily to the side of the podium, then stepped up to the microphones. His hands gripped the wood until his knuckles turned white. Behind him, Sophia connected the laptop to the projection system. The wall filled with the CyberGuard logo. Then documents began to appear. "My name is Daniel Hartman," he began. His voice cracked. He cleared his throat, started again stronger. 3 years ago, I became the first successful test subject in an illegal human experimentation program. My memories were erased and replaced. My wife was taken from me. My daughter was hidden. My entire life was rewritten like a computer program. The room erupted. Reporters surging forward. Questions flying like arrows. Daniel raised his hand and waited for quiet. What you're about to see will sound like science fiction. It's not. Every document is real. Every video was taken from CyberGuard's own servers. Every person you see was someone's family member whose mind was destroyed for profit. The screen behind him changed. Medical files appeared. Brain scans showing before and after. The names and faces of 24 test subjects. Most had died within months. The survivors were vegetables. Their minds burned out like overloaded circuits. Only Daniel had survived intact. Only he could tell their story. More documents flooded the screen. Government contracts worth billions. CIA funding for memory modification research. Military applications for creating perfect sleeper agents. The web of corruption spread across every branch of government. Names appeared. Senators, generals, intelligence directors. Each one had known. Each one had profited. Emily raised a shaking hand. Daniel helped her stand. She gripped the podium, swaying like a tree in a storm. When she spoke, her voice was barely a whisper, but the microphones caught every word. I was an NSA agent assigned to investigate CyberGuard. When I discovered they were using American citizens as test subjects, I tried to stop them. They made me a test subject instead. Erased my husband's memories of me. Took our daughter. Destroyed our family to protect their secrets. She paused, fighting for breath. Her legs trembled. Daniel moved to support her, but she shook her head. Not yet. She had more to say. Marcus Shaw, the CEO of CyberGuard, sits in federal custody right now. But he's just one head of a hydra. The technology still exists. Other companies are trying to recreate it. Other governments want to buy it. This doesn't end with Shaw's arrest. It ends when the world says never again. The screen changed to video footage. Daniel strapped to a machine, electricity coursing through his skull. Emily screaming in a white room as needles approached. Other test subjects with blank faces, their personalities erased like chalk from a board. The room went dead silent. Even the cameras stopped clicking. This is what they did to us, Daniel said. This is what they're still doing to others. Hidden facilities, black sites, people disappearing and returning as someone else. Your neighbor, your coworker, your family member. Anyone could be next. A rumble shook the building. Distant but powerful. Through the windows, a column of black smoke rose into the afternoon sky. Daniel recognized the direction immediately. CyberGuard's headquarters. They were destroying the evidence. His phone buzzed. Unknown number. The message was just 3 words: you lose, Hartman. Another explosion. Closer this time. The lights flickered and died. Emergency power kicked in, bathing everything in red. Reporters screamed. Security moved to the exits. But through the chaos, one small voice cut through. I knew they'd do this. Sophia at the laptop, her fingers flying across keys. That's why I uploaded everything last night. Every document, every video, sent to 50 news organizations, posted on government leak sites, backed up on servers in 12 countries. They can blow up every building in New York. The truth is already free. Emily laughed. The sound was like glass breaking. Then her legs gave out completely. Daniel caught her as she fell, lowering her gently to the floor. Her breathing had become shallow gasps. Her pulse fluttered under his fingers like a dying butterfly. The oxygen tank had been knocked over in the chaos. He pressed the mask to her face, but she pushed it away with the last of her strength. No, she whispered. Let me go as myself. Not their victim. Myself. Sophia dropped to her knees beside them, tears streaming down her young face. Mom, please. We just found each other again. Emily's hand found her daughter's cheek. Her touch was light as air. You saved us all, my brave girl. You're the reason we won. Her eyes turned to Daniel. In them, he saw their whole story. The truth and the lies. The years together and the years stolen. Everything they had been and everything they had lost. But mostly, he saw love. Love that had survived having their minds torn apart and rebuilt. Love that had brought them back together across impossible odds. The heart remembers, she said, so softly he had to lean close to hear. Even when the mind forgets, the heart remembers. That's why we found each other. That's why love wins. Her hand went limp in his. Her eyes stayed open but empty. Emily Hartman, who had sacrificed her mind to save her family, who had fought through destroyed memories to find them again, was gone. Daniel pulled her against his chest, his tears falling onto her still face. Sophia wrapped her arms around them both, her small body shaking with sobs. Around them, the chaos continued. Reporters shouting into phones. More explosions in the distance. Sirens wailing from every direction. But in their small circle of grief, time stopped. The world fell away. There was only a father and daughter holding the woman who had saved them both, saying goodbye to the warrior who had won the war but not lived to see the peace. Slowly, Daniel became aware of silence. The reporters had stopped shouting. The cameras had stopped flashing. Every person in that room stood still, watching a family torn apart by greed and power try to hold itself together one last time. Someone started clapping. Then another. Then the entire room erupted in applause. Not for the story. Not for the revelation. But for Emily Hartman, who had given everything to expose the truth. Daniel stood, lifting Emily's body in his arms. She weighed almost nothing, as if death had transformed her into memory and air. Sophia walked beside him, her hand on her mother's still arm. Together, they left the podium, left the cameras, left the burning city behind. The truth was free. The guilty would be punished. The technology would be destroyed. Emily had won. They all had won. But victory had never tasted so much like ashes. 6 months had passed since the world learned about Project Mnemosyne. The quiet Vermont suburb knew nothing of the family on Maple Street. To neighbors, they were just the Hartmans. Nice people. The father worked from home. The mother gardened. The daughter walked to school each morning. Daniel stood at the kitchen window, watching Emily plant tulip bulbs in the backyard. Her movements were careful, like someone learning a forgotten dance. The emergency surgery had saved her life, barely. 3 weeks in a coma. 2 months of rehabilitation. The doctors called it miraculous. But survival and living were different things. She didn't remember their wedding. Couldn't recall Sophia's first words. 10 years of marriage existed only in fragments. Some mornings she woke not knowing his name. Other days, she remembered everything perfectly, only to lose it by evening. But she remembered love. Not the specifics, but the feeling itself. It lived deeper than memory could reach. Sophia entered the kitchen, backpack on shoulder. She had grown 2 inches. Her face had lost its hollow fear, replaced by normal childhood concerns. But her eyes held too much knowledge for 8 years old. "Mom's planting tulips in the wrong spot again," she said quietly. Daniel looked closer. Emily was putting them where oak roots would choke them, not in the sunny patch where they belonged. Yesterday she knew. Today she forgot. "We'll replant them together later." She was crying again last night. Daniel pulled his daughter close. Emily cried often, frustrated by gaps in her mind. The experimental drugs had saved some memories while destroying her ability to form new ones consistently. Every day was a puzzle with missing pieces. "She's getting better." Slowly. "Are you?" The question caught him off guard. His recovery was different. The suppressed memories had returned, but felt like watching someone else's home movies. He could recall them but not feel them. He remembered falling in love with Emily but couldn't feel that first flutter. Facts without feelings. "I'm trying." The doorbell rang. Daniel tensed, hand moving to the baseball bat by the door. 6 months wasn't enough to stop jumping at sounds. CyberGuard was dismantled, Shaw imprisoned, but other companies had made offers. The technology was too valuable to disappear. But it was just the mailman. A package requiring signature. The return address Silverheart Industries. His new company. His redemption attempt. Inside were business cards. Simple. His name and title: Chief Ethics Officer. Not CEO. He was done with power. Silverheart would research memory ethically. Helping victims recover, not creating more. "What's that?" Sophia asked. "The future." "Or trying to be." Emily came inside, dirt under her fingernails, confusion in her eyes. She looked at Daniel, trying to place him. Then recognition dawned, and she smiled. That smile still stopped his heart. "Daniel, you're home." "I'm always home now." She nodded, not entirely understanding. In her fractured timeline, he sometimes still worked at the old company. CyberGuard's lies went deep, tangled with truth. They sat at the kitchen table. Emily's hand found his automatically. Sophia poured juice carefully. Such a normal moment. Daniel knew how precious normal was now. "I was thinking about the locket," Emily said slowly, testing words. Daniel's breath caught. The locket sat in a safety deposit box, the USB given to investigators. But Emily sometimes remembered its weight on her chest. "What about it?" "It had roses." "Silver roses." She traced patterns on the table. "Someone who loved me gave it." "Someone who promised to remember even if I forgot." "Yes, someone did." She looked at him then, eyes suddenly clear, completely present. It was you. On our anniversary. Daniel squeezed her hand. These clarity moments were gifts, even knowing they wouldn't last. 5 years ago. You cried when you opened it. Happy tears. I remember happy tears. Sophia watched with wise eyes. She had become their memory keeper, filling gaps with stories from both versions of their past. Tell me about Silverheart, Emily said, holding a business card. We're going to help people with damaged memories. From trauma, disease, people like CyberGuard. Research memory ethically. With consent. With humanity. Emily studied the card. Silverheart. Like the locket. Like things that remain when everything else is taken. Will Silverheart help me remember? Daniel's chest tightened. They had tried everything. Specialists. Treatments. Nothing restored what CyberGuard broke. We'll never stop trying. She nodded, satisfied. Then her attention drifted to birds outside. He'd lost her to the maze in her mind. But she still held his hand. Sophia stood for school. At the door, she turned. Dad, does love stay when memories go? If someone forgets everything, does love still exist? Daniel thought about 6 months of Emily forgetting his name but reaching for him in sleep. Him unable to feel his memories but choosing to stay. Sophia holding them together. Yes. Love isn't stored with memory. It's in our cells, hearts, souls. You can steal memories but not what they meant. Love remains. Always. Sophia smiled, her first real smile in months. Mom said that yesterday. Love is what CyberGuard couldn't touch. She left for school. Daniel watched her go, then turned to Emily, who was humming something unplaceable. The phone rang. Daniel answered cautiously. Mr. Hartman? Senator Martinez. The Ethics Committee wants to fund Silverheart to show America can use this technology ethically. No government funding. Too many strings. Complete transparency. No strings. We've learned from CyberGuard's crimes. Daniel looked at Emily drawing patterns in spilled juice. Circles within circles. I'll think about it. He hung up. Emily looked at him, eyes young again for a second. Was that important? Nothing's more important than this. He sat back down. Outside, sun-warmed earth where tulips lay wrongly planted but would grow anyway. Inside, a family stitched from fragments continued healing. The doorbell rang again. Emily answered, returned with an envelope. Someone left this. But no one was there. Inside was a photograph. Daniel, Emily, and infant Sophia in a park. Real, not manufactured. On the back some things can't be erased. Remember well. No signature, but Daniel recognized the handwriting. A CyberGuard researcher who'd helped them escape. Still watching. Still atoning. He shows Emily the photo. She traced baby Sophia's face with wonder. This was real, she said. Not a question. Yes. This was real. Then that's enough to build on. Daniel pulled her close, feeling her heartbeat. Somewhere, church bells rang. Somewhere, Sophia learned math. Somewhere, the world continued without knowing their story. But here, in this kitchen, a family rebuilt itself one memory at a time. Not who they'd been. Not what CyberGuard created. Something new. Something chosen. Something theirs. The silver heart of their life beat on, damaged but not destroyed. Never perfect again. But theirs. And that, Daniel thought as Emily leaned against him, was enough for a new beginning. Some memories fade, but love always finds its way back. Tell me in the comments, what memory would you never want to lose? If this story touched you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs to remember love. Thank you for being part of our journey today. This has been Story Theater.